I have been struggling with negative mindset for about 2 years now. Like the situation is really bad. On top of that, I complain all the time. I am currently in a situation which I don't really like being in, and the worst part is I genuinely can't do anything about it. And after a while, it started to really get into my head. In fact, I was so stressed out for the past around 2 years that I get very ill very often. That's how the situation. But upon reflecting, I have found out that the judgment I'm having about this situation is what actually troubling me, both psychologically and physically, than the situation itself. I have been stressed out so bad that literally my immune system was shutting down often. What I came to understanding by reading famous Stanford's neurobiologist Robert Sapolsky's work, I hope I spelled it right, is that while the body's stress response evolved for a brief life-threatening physical emergencies, we modern humans chronically activate it with psychological worries and stress. This constant flood of stress hormones causes accelerated aging, shrinks memory centers in the brain, and suppresses the human immune system. He also mentions that free will is an illusion, claiming that human behavior is entirely driven by seamless biological and environmental chain of events. I don't know if you can relate to the accelerated aging or suppressing the immune system well, but I think we can all relate to, at least people who live in the cities and are working a full-time jobs can relate to the shrinking of memory center problem. I think we get forgetful often. If we cannot change the environment, at least for the time being, and that environment is causing us stress, how can we actually not be stressed or be free of pain? This question was answered around 2000 years ago by ancient Greeks and Indians. Let's start with Epictetus and Stoicism. Epictetus described the fundamental of Stoicism, which is actually very simple. It goes like, there are things in life you can control, and there are things that happen without our control or beyond our control. According to Epictetus, we should calmly accept when things out of our control happen because we can do nothing about them, but we as an individual can, however, control our own actions through self-discipline and virtue. The idea of not letting things out of your control change your behavior is a simple practice that anyone can immediately grasp, but it's much more harder to act upon. Achieving virtue is not easy. The idea is to simply not fight against the nature and let it consume you. Death is always nearby in Stoicism, and it might seem morbid, but it helps remind oneself to live in the moment. It helps you build virtue, build character, and prepare yourselves to be ready to depart at any moment. Marcus would meditate every morning to remind himself to be grateful for every day. To me, this is the most powerful part of Stoicism. It's called memento mori. Memento mori is a Latin phrase that translates to remember that you must die. Like I said, it might seem morbid, but by acknowledging that life is short and that tomorrow is never guaranteed, you are able to filter out unnecessary concerns and prioritize what truly matters. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius believed that keeping death in mind forces you to act with purpose and presence. It serves as a great leveler, reminding individuals that wealth, status, and possessions are temporary. Epictetus also said that people are not disturbed by events but by the views they take of them. And Marcus Aurelius quoted, "If you are pained by external things, it's not the thing that disturbs you but your own judgment about it." This is when the light bulb went on in my head, and that I finally understood that it is me who is taking these things into my head and complaining about it. Ancient Indians had something to say about this as well, but they went much more deeper into spiritual levels. There's a quote in Bhagavad Gita that says that you are only responsible for your work and not entitled to the fruits of your labor. This simple quote is much more deeper than one can imagine and free one from suffering if used correctly. We often blame and complain that we do so much of X and not getting enough Y. There can be numerous reasons why you're not getting your Y by doing X amount of work, which can lead to anxiety, frustration, and stress. But if you follow this code, the code is talking about the law of detachment. If you're not entitled to the fruits of your labor, then you will receive your why eventually. And by law of detachment, it does not mean you should be doing a lame work, but giving your 100% to your craft and consistently improve it, but not actually expecting anything from doing it. By practicing this, you actually put yourself into the flow state and you do your best work, and eventually the universe reward you with everything that you desire. The Buddhist speaks about suffering in even more much deeper levels. We all want to be happy. When you think that your destiny is in the hands of God and everything happens randomly, then you feel you have no control and there is no chance to create your future. In Buddhism, the recognition of the law of cause and effect, also known as karma, is a fundamental key to understand how you created your own world with your actions of your body, speech and mind. When you truly understand karma, then you realize you are responsible for everything in your life, and it is incredibly empowering to know that you can create your future. What is karma? Karma simply means your previous actions, your current state of being, whether it may be financially, health-wise or your quality of life. It is all because of your own actions. And this action goes well before this current life. You need to understand that you are 100% deserving of what is happening to you at the present moment, because you have done X, Y and Z actions in this life or the previous ones, and that action is coming back to you. Einstein said it the best: every reaction has an equivalent and opposite reaction. You need to understand that the universe is by your side, and the universe and the gods, whichever you believe in, are your allies and not enemies. But you have to pay for your previous actions. In Buddhism, if you live a virtuous life, you will be rewarded in the next one. But if there's no reincarnation, then you still lived a virtuous life. Marcus had the same sentiment about karma and reincarnation, but he put it way more eloquently. Here's another quote from his book called Meditation. Live a good life. If there are gods and they are just, then they will not care how devout you have been, but will welcome you based on the virtue you have lived by. If there are gods but unjust, then you should not want to worship them. If there are no gods, then you will be gone, but when you've lived a noble life, that will live on in the memories of those of your loved ones. The purpose for the Stoic is virtue, and it turns any pain on its head. That's what makes Stoicism much more powerful and timeless, that is still practiced today. Though I am not completely won my negative mindset or my negative spiral, but Stoicism and Buddhist teaching are guiding me in the right path. Remember death. Do not let it frighten you, but remind you to live life with virtue. Remember death. By practicing Stoicism, there's no pain and suffering in this world that you can't endure. Remember death. Nothing can be taken from you for a Stoic who only values virtue. Remember death. Any suffering and pain will be opportunity for you to display and practice your virtue. Remember death. By living life to the fullest, you are also ready to let go at any moment, to not meet death with fear or anger, but rather welcoming, because some things you just can't control.